So Labour have ramped up their attacks on the left by blocking anyone who is remotely progressive, but this one to me is the most shocking. The next person who has faced a chop is Faiza Shaheen. Faiza Shaheen has been deselected as Labour's candidate for Chingford and Woodford Green at the general election over a series of past posts on social media in what critics dubbed a selections purge of one of the party's most left-wing candidates. Now, I want to draw your attention to how a lot of the media are framing this before we do a deep dive into it. Now, this is the BBC. Faiza Shaheen has told BBC Newsnight that she would not be Labour's candidate in Chingford and Woodford Green over allegedly liking anti-Semitic posts on X. This one from ITV. The former candidate for Chingford and Woodford Green in North East London posted a statement on social media on Thursday after she allegedly liked a series of posts on X which she downplayed anti-Semitism accusations. And the Telegraph. On Wednesday night, she found out that she would not be endorsed by the party. She had allegedly liked a series of social media posts that downplayed anti-Semitism accusations. So the media are framing this as anti-Semitism. Well, what were the tweets that were allegedly anti-Semitic? Well, one of them was this. The Israel lobby influences policy in various ways, but while people focus on campaign contributions, I don't think it's the main mechanism. If you ask me, this video perfectly illustrates how more often works, which is far more mundane. Basically, every time you say something even mildly critical of Israel, you're immediately assailed by scores of hysterical people who explain to you why you're completely wrong, how you're biased against Israel, more or less explicitly accuse you of anti-Semitism, and it just never stops. Moreover, you can't easily ignore them because those are not just random people. They tend to be friends or people who move in the same circles as you, those who are mobilized by professional organizations. But to a large extent, this is organic. This non-stop harassment is just exhausting, and since most people don't really care about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, they'll usually stop talking about it or, if they're a politician, do whatever those people want them to do, rather than having to put up with it because, in the end, it doesn't cost them much. And attached to the tweet is a clip from Jon Stewart's show from 2014.
Start tonight in the Middle East, where Israel...
What? Israel isn't supposed to defend itself?
Oh, yeah, if Mexico bombed Texas, will we exercise
What other countries held to the same standard as Israel?
People that want to destroy our terrorists?
What is the
4,000-year
matter
claim?
with you?
It's the only democracy in the Middle East, you turd!
Self-hating Jew?
That was weird. Anyway, what I was saying was last Thursday saw the start of a new ground offensive launched by Israel.
Oh,
Among the civilians! Tradition! Tradition!
Now, that tweet was absolutely bang on, and the video demonstrates the reality of it. This is apparently the reason why she is blocked, because she liked a tweet that was completely correct, and it was so outrageous that Jon Stewart himself said this. This is the dumbest thing the UK has done since electing Boris Johnson. What's the actual fuck? Not only was the reasoning to block her outrageous, but the way they did it was absolutely disgusting. Now, Labour briefed to the press before they contacted her, and she only found out an hour before appearing on the BBC. Now, we have a clip of that interview, and you can tell from the way she speaks and her body language, it's hard to not feel incredibly sad.
You got an email tonight. When?
Just like an hour ago.
Saying...
So basically, suddenly I'm out campaigning and my phone's blowing up. They've briefed the press. They briefed the press before they even had the decency to call me and talk to me. There was a meeting yesterday. My baby cried through half of it, so I don't know how they came to a decision because I couldn't even hear their questions. 14 tweets since 2014, 10 years. 3 of those were like about the Green Party, me liking my friend's tweet before I joined the Labour Party. And one of them was about my experiences of Islamophobia in the party. Like, how am I not allowed to talk about my experiences of Islamophobia and the double standards that I've seen and that we see with Diane Abbott, for instance? I honestly, I'm just so shocked right now to be treated this badly after being such an active member of the party. And, we were one of the tiny number, 6 Tory-held seats in 2019 that had a swing to Labour.
It's absolutely disgusting the way Labour are treating people of colour, especially when they don't ideologically align with the leadership. Now, this is what Keir Starmer had to say, and watching this, it's very hard to not get angry.
In terms of your candidate selections, 3 left-wing candidates now say they have been blocked from standing, and some people are suggesting that is a strategy. Are you blocking left-wing candidates from standing in this election?
No. I've said repeatedly over the last 2 years as we've selected our candidates that I want the highest quality candidates. That's been the position for a very long time. The situation in relation to Diane Abbott is that no decision has been taken to bar her. And, we have to remember that she was a trailblazer as an MP. She overcame incredible challenges to achieve what she's achieved in her political career. She literally sort of carved out the path for others to come into politics. And she did all that whilst also being one of the most abused MPs across all political parties. But I've always had the aspiration that we'll have the best quality candidates as we go into this election.
I mean, how absolutely vile is that? The man is a psychopath. I mean, he's looking at the person, but not really looking at them because there's nothing in there. He's a robot. He's programmed to say a certain line. He doesn't want high-quality candidates. What he wants is a bunch of corporate yes-men. I mean, is he seriously trying to say that Faiza Shaheen isn't a quality candidate? She's working class, local to the area, has a PhD, and was head of inequality and sustainable development of Save the Children. That is, by definition, high quality. Starmer really is a piece of shit. Then he went on to say how brilliant Diane Abbott is and how abused she is, but she's not going to be the candidate, is she? I mean, it's just so disgusting. Now, Faiza has accused Labour of having a problem with people of colour, which is true, but she's not going down without a fight and is taking legal action. Faiza Shaheen will challenge the decision in the courts, claiming she has faced a systemic campaign of racism, Islamophobia and bullying. I've come to the inescapable conclusion that Labour, far from being a broad church encompassing different views, has an ingrained culture of bullying, a palpable problem with black and brown people, and thinks nothing of dragging a person's good name through the mud in pursuit of a factional agenda, with no thoughts of the impact on committed members' mental health and well-being. Shaheen's campaign team said she had instructed a lawyer and was seeking to challenge her exclusion on Wednesday by a panel of Labour's ruling NEC. But the story gets worse. On the same day that Labour blocked Faiza, they announced that Luke Akehurst will be a candidate. Luke fucking Akehurst, another NEC member, which basically there's no democratic process, and the NEC is filled by the right, are just being parachuted into seats. Now, given how seriously Labour takes racism, how they want high-quality candidates, I'm assuming Luke fits that bill. Well, of course, he doesn't. And in fact, after it was announced that he became a candidate in a very safe seat, he deleted over 1,000 tweets. I wonder why. But don't worry, we have the receipts. This is Luke supporting land being stolen from the Palestinians. Personal opinions, not those of We Believe in Israel. I'm in favour of the major West Bank settlement blocks becoming part of Israel and a new Palestinian state getting compensatory land swaps from pre-1967 Israeli territory. I want the Golan Heights to remain part of Israel. This is Luke pushing a conspiracy theory that there were crisis actors during the bombing of Al-Shifa Hospital. The graphic clip I just watched on Sky News of alleged hit on Shifa Hospital in Gaza is identical to that circulated earlier today, fronted by the Hamas actor known on here as Mr. Fafo. Please can news outlets at least do basic due diligence that they are not using fake footage. An account called the Dalai Starmer, got a funny name, then shared a link to the full story. Luke then replied, yes, the longer version is introduced by Mr. Fafo and has wider framing on the shots that makes it more obvious it was staged. An account named Jack Williams responded, you honestly think people in Gaza have time to stage something like this? Bombs are being dropped all over the place and there's no food. They will be focusing on survival. I mean, it's a good point. But Luke then said, the same actor is in multiple videos of different alleged incidents. You can view them all on the Mr. Fafo hashtag. And here's a deleted tweet saying that Jewish people are politically black. I mean, what the fuck does that even mean? This one shows just how much of a danger he is, and it's why I've nicknamed him Luke Nukem. Trident can be used anything from one warhead in an uninhabited area as a warning shot to 40 aimed at cities. Yes, just casually dropping a nuclear weapon on the city. That's okay. I mean, the man is utterly deranged. And finally, we got a true banger of a tweet here from Luke. Always bemused by people whose primary political cause is abolition of the world's only Jewish state, getting affronted at the suggestion they might be a bit anti-Semitic. He's then asked, do you think the UN is anti-Semitic, Luke? His response, yes. Incredible stuff. There's plenty more, of course, but it's just too much to cover in this video. But we do have some clips of him too. This is Luke explaining how much of a Zionist he is.
In my current job, and every time is hugely moving and very enjoyable for me. But so 2005, I get invited, and I turned around to Jeremy Newmark, who I think was already working for the JLC then, but it was his exact same generation of me in student politics. He had been running UJS when I've been running Labour students. I was like, why didn't you take me then? Why didn't UJS take me? They were always taking groups of student leaders on study tours to Israel. And why? I was like, why did I have to wait till 2005, until 12 years after I graduated? And Jeremy was like, well, when we put together the list of who to take, you were so outrageously pro-Zionist that we thought it was a total waste of our money to bother taking you to Israel, because the idea was to get people on side that were not already on side. So that was why it took me rather a long time to get there.
Astonishing. And this is another video of Luke being racist about Jackie Walker. She is both black and Jewish, and he's claiming that means she must be conflicted.
Jackie has mixed antecedents, Jewish on one side and Caribbean on the other side, and I can only interpret her remarks as somehow playing out something in a conflict where she kind of feels very uncomfortable about the two parts of her heritage rather than celebrating both of them.
Now, Luke is genuinely a horrifying individual, one of the absolute worst to come out of the Labour Party, but he's also very dangerous because it's not just that he has completely deranged and awful opinions, he is quite literally an agent of a foreign state. Luke is director of We Believe in Israel, which is an organisation that advances the interest of the state. He is literally paid by a foreign power to spread propaganda. Now, anyone who takes money from a foreign state should not be in a British political party. Frankly, it should be illegal. Now, since Luke believes in absolutely nothing except Israel, he is going to be a member of the British Parliament only to advance the interests of Israel. To select a paid Israeli lobbyist at the same time as Israel's war crimes and genocide is fucking horrific. So this is what Keir Starmer means by high-quality candidates, blocking a working-class woman of colour who has campaigned on inequality while standing nut jobs like Luke Akehurst. This is a well and truly fallen Labour Party, a party that is burnt to the ashes with no chance of resurrection. And this isn't Tony Blair Mark II. I mean, he at least kept the left inside the party. He didn't feel the need to purge the left to push his politics. And in a way, that made him a far more competent and confident man, unlike Weasel Weak Starmer. And I genuinely don't take pleasure in saying positive words about Blair, but that's what it's come to because of how disgusting Starmer's Labour in name-only party is. The biggest obstacle to change in this country is Labour, especially after they form the next government with a bunch of undemocratically chosen candidates. Remember, a lot of these candidates will spend the rest of their lives in Parliament. This is why it's so dangerous. You know, maybe Labour will only win 2 terms, but some of these god-awful people will be deciding our laws for the rest of their and our lives. It's why democratic parties are so important. They literally help shape Parliament regardless of who's in power. Now, when Labour wins in July, we have a real fight on our hands. So let's hope at least we get a handful of Greens and independents in there too.